You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options. Facebook.com/TheOptionsInsider or via questions at TheOptionsInsider.com.
And now, it's time for the show that breaks down the options market. From unusual activity alerts to market analysis, strategy overviews, listener questions, and much more. If it involves puts and calls, then our all-star panel will break it down. It's time to hit the option block with your host, Mark Longo from the Options Insider Media Group, and co-hosts Uncle Mike Tussaw from RCM Asset Management, Andrew the Rock Lobster Joe Vanazzi from OptionPit.com, and Mark the Greasy Meatball Sebastian from OptionPit.com. And now, get ready to hit the option block.
Welcome to the Option Block. Like Mark said, this is usually the portion of the show where if you're listening live or on the podcast, and on the podcast you still will, you'll hear some cool music and some cool guitar riff intros and all sorts of fun stuff. Then we start talking. We'll just make it up in our heads today. And as Mark mentioned, we also do a lot here on this show of unusual activity, what's trading in the marketplace. Both of those a little bit challenging today because most of us have been here for the better part of the day. So there's some stuff to talk about, though. We are seeing some interesting stuff. And then, of course, we get into a lot of usual listener questions. So if you guys have a bunch of those, we have a bunch of our own as well because our listeners write into us all the time. But so if you guys are feeling shy, we can always answer those. But if you're feeling up to it, we can always discuss a lot of your questions as well. So it's a fun show. We usually do it for about an hour or so, and lots of fun. So let's kick it off here. Let me introduce my cohort. You guys know. We call him the Greasy Meatball on the show, so he's the Greasy Meatball, Mark Sebastian.
I made one joke one time, and it stuck.
He branded himself with a nickname, and it has stuck for many years ever since. So he is the Greasy Meatball, Mark Sebastian. Mark, welcome to your own event.
Great. Good to be here. We got a great crowd here today. Everybody scream, say, woo!
We are also live on Mixlr. Some people are listening to us right now. I can't see how many.
Hello, Mixlr people.
So hello, Mixlr. We apologize for the audio. We're actually beaming to you from our phone as opposed to the usual studio, so it's not going to sound as cool on the Mixlr, but that's what happens when we're on the go here. And next to us, we have a special guest pinch hitting here on the old Option Block All-Star panel. Why don't you go ahead and give us your name? Tell us what it is you do and what are you doing here at the old Option Pit Extravaganza.
That would be me. So I'm Kevin Luthringshausen.
Pull that microphone a little closer to you.
Oh, dear. First time.
Are you related to, only other Luthringshausen I know is Wayne. Is that your grandfather or father?
Well, it's my dad.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, there you go.
So, right. He was in the industry.
A storied options name.
Yes, that's
What
right.
did
He was
your
on
dad do?
He was on the clearing side of the world.
Oh,
He
nice.
ran
Ever hear of
OCC
OCC?
forever.
Oh, I've heard of the Option Clearing Corporation. Yes.
Right.
That's a good spot to be.
So I'm Kevin Luthringshausen. I go by Lex because, Kevin's way too long. So I shortened it to Lex.
It's got a good supervillain ring to it.
Yeah,
Right?
Lex Luthor.
Shave your head,
Right.
and wear a power suit, and you're good to go.
And I'm here because we have a new technology for people who want to manage risk and enter orders, and it's a whole trading platform, and it's a Netflix-style model, so we're really pushing that as well, and we're just excited to get it rolling.
Netflix model meaning meaning
All you can eat.
All you can eat. You pay one fee, and you just keep watching movies.
you just trade and trade and trade.
Yes. So
There you go. You can have Netflix on one screen, Trade Hawk on the other, and you're good to go. 2 flat fees, and you're pretty much done. If the markets are boring, you watch something cool.
Perfect.
Maybe some of the superhero stuff you were just talking about earlier.
Maybe you could include Netflix in one of the feeds on it.
Oh, there we go. A little applet. There you go. Eat
So
that
instead of
cost.
Netflix and chill, it could be Netflix and trade.
Netflix and trade. That's conducive to
I like that better.
That's conducive to profitability.
Well, not really,
isn't
but
it? All right, and last but not least, all the way on the end, bringing up the rear. Good to see him in person again, not coming in from the pool house, Mr. Matt Tubby Benson. It does seem weird. I feel weird with the badge they gave me because they didn't get mine. But Tubby, you're synonymous with Tub.
Yeah.
And the notion that they didn't give you your badge, it offends me, if not you, sir.
It's a little disappointing.
yeah, they got every single former trader's badge wrong.
That's
My badge was SCB. They gave me man Lex's was Lex. They gave him Le. Matt's was Tub. They gave him Tub. Leisha, what did they give you? You were. Oh, Leisha never got one.
Oh.
Those jerks. And your badge. What was your?
Yeah, my badge used to be DVL. I was Devil in the SPX pit. I figured
they didn't give you that
I wanted to make a name for myself when I was a kid out of college and brokers didn't know who the hell I was. So they remember that, even if they were deeply offended. And then they got that wrong too. So I think
O for the century,
Yeah.
SIBO.
However, you are holding a piece of history. I was informed.
We're not allowed to talk about that yet. I got yelled at I already got warned by the powers that be not to mention it.
All right, we'll move on before Tubby gets in all sorts of trouble. And instead, we'll go right on into
What's new?
the trading block.
It's time to break down the latest topics, trades, and trends in the world of options. It's time for the Trading Block.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Trading Block. This is the portion of the show where we break down, surprise, surprise, what's been trading, what's been catching our eye, what's been going on. We're going to do things a little bit differently, like we said today. This is a live show coming from the Option Pit Pro Trader Extravaganza, so we're going to dispense, I think, with the usual format. Let's start off, Mark. You got everybody gathered here today. You got all this stuff. You've been talking for 2 days. What the heck is this event? What are you guys talking about? What's been the rub here from the big Option Pit Pro Trader Summit?
This is the Westmark Option Pit CBOE Pro Trader Summit, and
say that 5 times.
Yeah,
first.
no kidding. We've had a lot of really interesting speakers come in and kind of, the whole point of this is to get some, between all these different guys in the business. Everybody brings something interesting to the table. I don't do a lot of charting. We had a couple of guys that do some charting. We have a guy, Micah Lamar's here. He's one of the foremost Apple trading experts. Rick Sadler is hit and run candlesticks. That's far safer than hit and run driving,
Yes.
right, man?
Yes. Less deadly on the chart.
He's been great. We had who was it? Russell Rhodes of
I don't know who you're talking about.
fame was
horrible
here
human
yesterday
being.
talking, and we had who else gave talked yesterday? That
Scott.
was Scott. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We had Nadex here talking.
Nadex.
Talking.
Nadex, who ran from us, they were terrified. So why don't you come on the show? They
Talking
both
binaries.
instantly had meetings they had to attend back at the office.
What we try and do is really bring some actionable ideas to a group of people who decide to come to the place to trade, which is Chicago, right? This is the hub. You think of New York as that's the institutional money capital of the world. Chicago is the trading capital of the world, hands down. There's more traders, more guys that used to wear colored jackets floating around the city than anywhere in the world, and that's what I think why I like doing it here, because you can get guys that know what the heck they're talking about to kind of talk shop.
Still see a few of those colored jackets. Not as many anymore to see. You still see a few walking around in jeans now, which is crazy to notion. I saw a guy eating pizza on the floor a few minutes ago. I was like, they would have tackled me to death if you brought a pizza. I was talking with Tubby. I was like, I had this water. I said, if I tried walking on the floor this back in the day, they would have killed me on site. You could get a gun on there easier than you could any sort of beverage
I almost
product.
got caught eating a cupcake one
Oh
time.
my
I think
God.
it was
That was
for,
instant ban for life.
Best birthday. She had she'd snuck cupcakes on the floor. And I'm in Matt's booth. I'm sneaking, eating the security guard first. You guys can't see me, but I'm doing like this little I look like who's the guy from the
like a dwarf hoarding his gold.
Yeah, Gollum or what his name is.
Yes, Gollum. There you go.
Yeah, from.
For you guys who don't know, it used to be ridiculously strict down here to bring any sort of food or beverage. We used to always joke, Andrew and the Picos guys, they could eat burritos on their desks on the floor, and if you brought even like a granola bar down there,
I know,
they pretty much would tackle you and fine you and not ban you for life, but just fine you for quite a bit.
Yeah, the reason being is that all of the wiring,
fiber,
and fiber was underneath the floor, and so if you drop crumbs, potentially a mouse could get in there, and potentially chew through the floor. Now, which is funny because you could do whatever you want on the Amex when I was on the Amex, and within my first week of being in a pit, I shut down our entire booth because I accidentally I knocked a cup of coffee over the par quoting machine and shut down the entire booth. We went in a fast market.
And then no one could have beverages on the Amex ever again.
So my special at the time was a guy named Finbar Regan. He was an Italian guy. And he turned plaid. He was so mad. I've never seen anybody actually turn plaid, but his entire face went from like bright red into green and red and white plaid. He was so angry.
I actually weighed 180 pounds when I started down here. But I'd eat so many meals out of drawers. Like, I couldn't eat salad anymore. It was too hard to eat. So 3 double cheeseburgers made more sense.
That's it. And then the Tubby acronym was born all those years later. Well, Lex, you spent how many years on the floor of the SIBO?
I was on the SIBO for 20 years.
20 years. So you might have, maybe Tubby might have you beat. I don't know. Tubby, how long were you down there for?
26 and a half
so
years.
Tubby's got you beat, but not by much. So what did you trade out there? And then give us a little bit of breakdown of what you kind of broke down for the audience here today.
Yeah, so when I traded, I started in Xerox. And someone I spoke to today, Graham, I said, see, you mentioned Xerox. That was my first pit. So a gentleman out here had a fellow in there, and that's where I started, in Xerox. Moved over to Chrysler. Pretty much from there, the rest was history. I stayed in Chrysler a long time until they issued DPMs, which is the Designated Primary Market Maker business.
Otherwise known as sanctioned stealing.
I think I clerked in that Chrysler pit.
That was crazy.
2 weeks.
Yeah, the takeover, the day that was taken over, that stock traded more options in the history. I think it holds the record for the number of options traded in a single day. And I want to say it was some crazy 500,000 number. 500,000 contracts traded that day in that.
And that's
pit.
when you were DPM?
No, that was right before the DPM.
Before. So right before
Yeah.
the big
was-
handoff, that was the DPM.
Talk about
age.
insanity. You guys remember the pit experience yesterday? That was insane. We didn't have computers really then. So go ahead.
So I joke about the sanction thing. So the big thing about being a specialist we call them specialists on the MX or DPM, is that you have to provide a market. So all the other market makers, I knew guys that would literally, if they didn't want to trade, they would go and run and hide. They would literally hide in the booth, like, get away, I'm hiding. And and if the DPMs couldn't do that, so they have to post a two-sided market at all times. Now, in return, they would get guaranteed 30% of all the flow. So it used to be frustrating. So when I first started on the Amex, I was in like Merck and GE and stuff like that. So GE at the time was like a high-flying stock. It was moving around all the time. It was, it was before the financial crisis, so it was like a 60. Remember, GE actually used to be like a good company, and so they would come into the pit and they'd quote some set of calls, and everybody would be like 5,000 up, and the specialist would post 1,000. He'd be like, oh, I'm 50, 60, 1,000. Everyone else is 5,000 up. The broker would walk in and be like, well, I've got 2,050, and the specialist who put up 1,000 got his 800. And because he got 40%, and then everybody else got to split the 1,200 between them. That was the part of being a DPM was kind of nice.
Yeah, and another critical element to the equation back before DPMs was that it was a speed game, meaning when a broker made an announcement of an option and hit a bid or an offer, whoever was first to respond got to control how many he or she took out of the trade. So when the DPM business came around, we didn't have to be that fast anymore. So we just did one of these.
And then everyone else in the crowd just did this.
Yep, that's it.
Everyone raised their hand and
said,
go, okay,
with.
I'm going to give you, out of the 200, you're going to get 60.
Yep.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 10 of you, 14's apiece. Thanks.
Yeah. And
It was in the early days of DPM. It was a little frustrating for your compatriots who stood next to you as when you were not the DPM.
Yeah, and then there'd be a squirrely guy that didn't know the rules that would try and do something, and he'd have to be set in his place.
And Lex, you were talking about, obviously you came here to talk about Trade Hawk. Give us a kind of a little bit overview. Give us a quick overview. And you guys are doing something a little bit different. You guys are working with, I think, the folks over there at Tradier who are very, the API-centric outlet there to kind of do something a little bit different. Walk us through what you guys are doing.
So what we did is we were, as I said, we were always been in the trading business on the market maker side, very proprietary. And, we always had technology. So what we decided to do is pivot, I guess is the best way to say it. We pivoted, and we wanted to take our proprietary trading platform, redo it, and rebrand it for the retail consumer, like a lot of folks who are here today. So that's what we did, and we just came to the market in the first part or middle part of August. Very soft launch, and we just think we have so many great things to put in it. We wanted to get the viable product in the marketplace with the model out there, and we're trying to release something every week and a half that is from our toolbox of things that are coming. So I don't want to say we want you to download every day. We don't. We want you to have a great experience, learn the platform, and get excited for the next features. So the next features are all really cool.
Now, is this a standalone like desktop app? Is HTML5? What are we talking?
Yeah, so it's what it is. It's a downloadable for PC. We have a web-based version that you can work on an Apple or wherever. So it is a download for the PC folks, or you can just use it right off the web. So then it's not.
That
not
seems
a
to
download.
be the modern way to go. Speaking of the
You can
modern,
always kind of tell someone's new to trading when they walk in with a Macintosh. Or a Mac.
You can't hold that against them.
Yeah, because frankly, all of the infrastructure of the trading business is built to.
Yeah, you don't see a lot of.
Yeah.
Well, you don't see much of anything out there. Yeah, you're scaring off. You're scaring off our poor Mac audience here.
No, I mean just all of the trading software is written to personal computing and the IBM compatible, not to Mac, and so.
That's why I'm losing money. Got it.
Because you're chasing Apple, that's why you're losing money.
Very
over there.
difficult infrastructurally to trade on a non-PC.
Yeah, it's not something you see a lot. But speaking of things you don't see a lot, I think that it kind of what you guys are doing over there at TradeHawk is kind of maybe a sign of things to come in the space. We've seen a lot of platforms these days. You got your TOS, you got your options houses, E-Trades now. You got a lot of big, deep pockets behind these, but it's a big beast to handle. You have to handle the back end, the execution, and all that infrastructure. Then on top of it, you have to have a front end. And typically, people who want different products want different things. So the options guys are often left out in the cold a little bit because their UI maybe isn't optimized, pun intended, for options traders. So you guys have let kind of Tradier kind of handle a lot of the back end stuff, and you guys have, I guess, optimized the front end for options traders. Is that a good way of putting it?
I think so. As I spoke earlier,
platform's pretty sweet too, by the way.
Oh, thanks. What we did is we tried to distill out and I called it icing in the earlier talk today. It's not that stuff is bad. It's good, but we have to hit the center zone of the scattergram. So we have to put in the essential elements for you to be successful. We have a lot of experience in what is useful in being successful in the proprietary space. So we tried to work that backwards a bit to give you a product that isn't overwhelmingly confusing to use and can get you up to speed quickly and manage your, we're big about risk. That's what we really were about was managing risk. And we looked at risk from 9 different ways to Sunday. That's what we did. You can do that here. We like to do that. Order entry is, you can hit a button and you can fire things in. We can automate order entry. You don't have to touch a button if we wanted to do it that way. The important decision, and that's why guys like Mark are around, they got to tell you how to, what's involved and what are the risk parameters of this thing? What could go wrong? That's the worrisome, right? Everyone's wonderful.
Something could go wrong in trading.
Yeah, no, nothing. Everything's great when you're making money, right? That's wonderful. How do you get out? How do you keep that money? So we want to give you a clear set of parameters to manage that.
So TradeHawk.com, is that where people should go?
MyTradeHawk.com.
MyTradeHawk.com to check it out and kick the tires. And since it is a trading block, we should do a little. Tubby, I know you've been watching. You've been doing your homework. You've been watching some stuff. I know you're watching. We were talking on Monday's show, as you recall, about some of the shippers and whether Amazon may dip their toes into that water. We talked about some unusual activity in UPS. What were you watching out there today, Mr. Tubbinator?
We talked about UPS on Monday, and I brought up we saw a big spread in FedEx last week, and lo and behold, both of those stocks are on a tear. UPS up to 119, FedEx up $4.50, all-time high today. I'm not really sure if what we talked about, is someone like an Amazon or Walmart out there to buy up one of these carriers, essentially just to brand them themselves. The size of Amazon right now, certainly not out of the realm of possibility.
No.
So why are these things moving? It's seasonality potentially. You're going into the Christmas holiday season. More people are shopping online. These are probably names to own. And I did. Who spoke earlier with the buy? What were we looking at?
Apple?
Yeah. Yes.
Micah?
Micah was talking about it.
Hey, Micah.
And I did download that, and I believe both FedEx and UPS are buy signals right now.
Well, there you go.
So
it
works.
We did talk about some unusual activity in UPS. Guy was obviously a little bit longer term. He's smiling today, but he's probably only up like about a nickel or so because he bought the 120, 140 vertical, pretty sizable as I recall.
Yeah,
at least 5,000 times, if not more. But he did it in January of 2020. So he was a little off on his time frame. He's still happy, but
Yeah.
probably not quite as happy as he maybe would have been if he had done, a monthly or certainly a weekly or something along those lines.
What did he pay? Because that thing went out. Let's see,
to-
10 and 10 went out like $6.
If I look around for the
That was a 140, 160, wasn't
speak amongst yourselves
Yeah.
for a minute,
It
and I'll
was
see
the
if I can find it.
140.60.
it? Right.
It was, yeah. But
I don't have connection here, but yeah, it's interesting. If I stop the live stream, I could dig it up. I hate to have the people listening live.
nah,
not
it's
to-
fine.
Not to, well, we have the prices up there somewhere. But yeah, it was probably at least a nickel less than he paid than it's worth today. How about that? Let's go that far. Maybe a dime. I'll give him a dime. But yeah, it's kind of it's a good maybe commentary too on time frame. He obviously had a little bit longer term time frame out there in all sorts of shippers, as we like to call them, for lack of a better word. Now we do have a bunch. I'll get to the mail block in a minute. This is Thursdays, as usual. We have another co-host who does a segment called the Strategy Block. He obviously isn't here with us today, so we'll table that until next. I thought he was coming in live to make
I
it.
was too.
Getting him out of the suburbs is a tricky business.
Yeah, I know.
So no Uncle Mike
An
today. I'm
object
sorry.
not in
for
motion
it.
tends to not
yes,
stay in motion.
exactly. So those Uncle Mike fans out there will have to wait till next week. But if you guys have questions, start thinking them up, because we're going to dive right on into. We got a bunch of our own here as well. These people wrote in, so you guys are here live. So I want to give you guys pride of place if you have any. So meanwhile, let's just keep on rolling into what do you say, Mark? A nice live edition of the mail block.
The mail block.
All right, everybody, welcome to the mail block. This is indeed the portion of the show where we break down. Actually, we can do a good live poll here as well with your audience. To break down what you guys have on your minds here with your questions, comments, insights.
That's a good one, yeah.
You guys know how to reach us,
Show
of
of
course,
hands.
at Options, Twitter, and Stock Twits, or over there on Facebook, Options Insider. Just started Instagram like yesterday. I think we have 20 followers. I think we're Options Insider, something along those
You
lines.
should do an
So there we go.
Insta story on
There we go.
this.
We're doing Insta story on this. So for all 20 of you who are following us on Instagram now, there you go. Or of course the old-fashioned way, questions at theoptionsinsider.com. We also like to ask you guys questions every week. We have a question of the week. This week's poll question, probably pretty relevant to this audience. We asked you guys, VIX products that come in many flavors these days, as you guys certainly know. So what's your poison? We gave you limited to 4 choices, so we picked, and you guys can tell us kind of what your favorites are. We gave you VXX, UVXY, XIV, and good old SVXY. We'll go down the table first, let people think about it a little bit. Then I'll let you guys chime in. Then I'll tell you what our audience
What is your
thinking in a
favorite
minute.
way to...
Obviously, we didn't include basic, plain vanilla VIX options and futures. That's too boring. We talk about those all the time. Let's mix it up a little bit. We're talking ETPs this week. So
ETP.
what's your favorite?
I like
predictably crappy VXX or UVXY?
I love UV. I
You
love
like
trading
your
UVXY.
UVXY, you
That's
do.
a fun one
You do
because
like your
it's
UVXY.
loaded with funness.
Is it
Because
is it predictably funness?
It makes the VXX particularly crappy look like predictably awesome on a relative sense. So there, believe it or not, UVXY is worse than being double short or double long VXX because its daily inversion screws it up even harder. So that thing
worse.
is just a piece of dog.
That is impressive.
It is.
That's pretty
It is.
bad.
Yes.
'Cause VXX
It is poop on your shoe.
How many guys here trade VXX? I'm just curious. It's a little show of hands.
Anybody here VIX traders?
Nobody?
Raise your hand if you're a VIX trader.
VIX.
got a couple.
So VIX options and futures, that's kind of your primary poison. What about UVXY? Anybody out there like UVXY?
No.
This guy really
Oh, there's
animated
one.
over it.
Oh.
One.
There's one,
So yeah, a
too.
couple of VXX over yours. How about
Couple of
XIV? You guys like XIV? One guy for XIV.
We got one XIV, a couple XIV.
Got a very shy audience. We got to warm them up a
Yeah,
little
they're
bit.
not.
SVXY about the last one here. One
Oh,
extra.
there's-
So we kind of got a tie of a lot of middling. Now, no love for the VIX ETPs. What about you, Lex? What's your poison when you're out there, when you're not building trade hawk?
Well, I'll tell you, when I traded that stuff, I actually traded VXX.
Oh.
And we had a trader who traded the VIX. We're not talking about that, but the VXX, and the VXX was I shouldn't say this. Maybe it was a disaster.
No one's listening.
garbage.
It's
Yeah,
just
it's
it's just us.
And I maybe Mark wants to delve into why it was such a decaying priced product because of the way they inverted. They rolled their futures out for that
Yeah.
product every day, and it literally had to go down.
Theoretically, yes.
Theoretically, it had to go down all the time. It reverse split in my
It's a
trade
bunch of times.
I mean, 5 times since I was in the product.
Yeah, I believe an investment in VXX at onset is VXX is what, $40?
Yeah.
And I
Well, it's a little
believe
north of
split
that, yeah.
adjusted, its initial offering was 126,000. So that's some wealth destruction, folks. Something like that.
That's
Does
quality.
That sound about
It's-
right?
it's in that
somewhere there.
ballpark if it's not
so,
there.
yeah, well, the one thing to think about VXX is it does what it's supposed to do. So people are like, how could it do that? it straight up says this. It will have issues, but every type of hedging product does this, right? How is VXX losing money on a daily basis any different than being a long portfolio? And this is something the Thompson boys, the Thompson twins will talk about.
The mullet or the Tulum.
Yeah, so how is that any different than losing money on a rolling 30 delta put hedge? It's the exact same thing. So, the way we always describe it is VXX can be a great strategic short, and in very specific circumstances, it can be a great strategic long. When futures enter backwardation, instead of having to lose money every day, it actually has to kind of make money every day. Generally, the wind is at its back. It's not quote unquote sailing in the wind. I had to edit myself there, folks.
Christopher Cross.
Yeah.
Tubby. Last but not least, sir, what's your poison here? Then I'll give you what our audience is voting for here so far.
I'm just going to give you I think the audience is going to vote for UVXY. My favorite way to trade it was when Mark gave me an order, and I was a broker on it. But,
your favorite way to trade it was when $2.5 million came in this week on the TOS options. That would have made your year, sir.
Yeah, I'm not much of I haven't really dug into that just yet. I like my stocks and blondes.
Which is a bar around the corner, folks.
A few days in, I think we've got a few days left to go, but so far it's pretty close. But VXX is leading 38%, saying they like themselves. I kind of expected that. VXX has just volume-wise, it's the easiest. Yep. It does 300 and some odd thousand contracts a day in terms of options. Some days it's the exchange leader by volume, which is terrifying, but interesting.
Think about it. Everybody's like, oh, vol, it's kind of scary. On a daily basis, VXX and often UVXY, and certainly SVXY and XIV, will be in the top 10 of all ETFs or ETPs that have traded in terms of by volume.
Well, you just mentioned it strategically it could be a good long. Yeah. But if it's that actively traded, is there another purpose to buy it?
Well, yeah.
I mean as a hedge against...
Yeah, you can run it as a 1 or 2 day hedge. There are guys that think vol's going to go up in the next hour or two. You can use that to express a hedge against a VIX futures position. I can recreate VXX using VIX futures or UVXY using VIX futures. All I'm really doing is carrying a basket of long futures, and I'm creating VXX. So VXX in and of itself, I can make bets on volatility going up in the next minute. I can make bets on it going up in the next hour or day. And if I'm right over the next day or two, I can do it reasonably well. It will express a VIX futures position with 30 days to expire effectively.
You're determined to knock my mics off the table.
I am determined to knock your mics off the table. I have this, the Italian in me wants to bang stuff and talk with my hands.
I learned that a long time ago from doing all this radio, not to hit the table. All right, UVXY number 230. By the way, if you guys want to vote, go to @options on Twitter. Cast your vote for it there. We got a couple days left on this poll. XIV number 3, 18%. SVXY number 4 with 12%. No love for SVXY.
SVXY does not get any love, even though it's exactly the same as XIV and it has options.
People writing in. We also have people writing in with their choices. Your buddy Ophir really likes VXX.
He does.
He typed it and then he wrote in to say VXX exclamation point exclamation point. So he really likes it. And some guy Grim Contango is mad at us because we said no TVIX. I was just joking. I hate TVIX. So I said no TVIX.
Ever since that thing broke.
He got mad at us that we did. Why no TVIX? Agistus 11 says he wants to sell in the money UVXY calls, get assigned, and be set for life. So there you go. And then UVXY trader doesn't agree with that. He says you have to cover by end of day with TOS, so it doesn't work too well for him. So there you go. Vote over @options if you haven't done so already. I got a bunch of questions here, but if you guys have any that are really burning your brains, could be anything. Could be anything options related. We like to keep it to options. It is called the option block after all. But if you have something, if not, if you're feeling shy, we got 1 million people have already written in. So raise your hand now. Oh, you got them written down. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
you got them written down. Okay, we'll bring them up here then.
If you got a question, bring it up.
We'll go through them.
Or do you want to? You can ask live.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Oh,
look at this.
Nice.
Well done.
Wow.
I like
All
this.
right.
I'll read them. I'll read them.
Okay.
What are you doing? You're not
That's
the
my
host.
job.
You're not the host, sir.
He's got a very good voice for reading.
There we go. All right. There we go. You want me to read your names, or you want me to keep you anonymous for life? I'll let you. What?
First name only.
First name only. Okay, fine. Pablo wants to know. Oh yeah, this is today. Roku skyrockets on the opening day. Yes, today was Roku. I was a little surprised by that. You don't think the the streaming market is such a bonanza, but apparently I was wrong. Jumps more than 68% from an IPO of 14
Wow.
to 23 and a half.
Holy bananas.
Quality IPO job there by that iBanker. They didn't leave any money on the table there at all. Wow, that shows how bankrupt the IPO. Another whole other conversation another day. Will it be another snap? You know, I'll go with this one first. You guys can mull over a little bit. I mentioned already. I was stunned to see. That's probably more of a commentary on the IPO than anything else. But I mean, Roku. Think about it. What do? They make these stream. They were first movers in that space, so I'll give them that. But we've seen many times Fitbit, TiVo. First mover is not always the advantage that it's cracked up to be. When the big players, Apple's got 4K now, so it's a very crowded field.
How do they monetize Roku? Because the big problem with
they
Snap,
sell hardware. They sell the hardware in the box, and I think they have some. Maybe you correct me. Maybe
like a
they have
Sling
some
box?
streaming services too.
You do pay for it.
Yeah.
It's like
But-
$20 a month or $25 a month.
yeah, and
No, so Roku's interesting, I'm not making a comment on whether you should be long it or short it, but my
Trade Hawk says buy.
No, I can't. Trade Hawk can't say that.
everybody, you heard
No. But I just bought my daughter a couple TVs. She moved out to California, and I buy her
Can I
these.
be your kid?
Yeah, right. She wanted to. I said, well, what about cable? Do you have cable set up in the house? And she goes, no. Who uses cable? We all use Roku. I'm like, you do? No way. So I didn't understand what Roku was until all this stuff is built into these TVs, and you don't even need to have cable. So they watch Hulu, and they watch Netflix, and they watch a couple others. And if you're a
YouTube's
sports
got a
person,
station.
yeah, YouTube's got a station.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard
So-
someone once time say, look what your kids are doing and buy those stocks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was
Snapchat.
very interested in that little tidbit when she said that. I was
The
like,
thing
wow.
is, though, for Roku, I mean, you can get most of that functionality now on like your generic smart TV. It's kind of just baked
But
in.
you still
know?
know you have to pay for it, though.
It depends.
Even though if it's baked in.
Well, yeah, but Netflix you still have to pay. Obviously,
I have Roku and Netflix on my TV, but I have to pay for the services.
Roku doesn't have
Well,
a
what does
standalone,
Roku
does it?
stream?
Ro-
I mean, what, like
just
regular
because
TV?
Roku is built
They
into the
provide
TV,
the
you
extra
still have
stuff.
to pay for
They
it.
probably get a piece of it on their platform.
What
like
I
an
mean,
Apple.
can I get ESPN on Roku?
Yeah.
You can. Yeah.
You can?
Some
Can
of
I
them,
get Can I get Bravo?
You got to pay for that, but yeah.
My wife runs
Bravo.
my wife runs her big
ESPN
blonde hair
and Bravo.
business. It's not me. But like the reason why I have cable is because my wife runs a fashion blog that is entirely based on Bravo reality television shows, and so that is why I have cable, because I don't think you can get Bravo until Comcast, because Comcast owns Bravo. So let me tell you
Can
something.
I honestly say I have not
Bravo-
researched the availability of Bravo on all
Bravo
these
is
platforms.
not
but,
on any on streaming networks. Let me tell you that much.
Pablo, you asked the question. What do you think of the IPO? And speak up so we can hear you.
I think they have steep competition.
Steep competition, yeah.
Stiff. I mean, they're competing with Apple, they're competing with Google, they might well compete with Amazon. So it's not an easy
Yeah. Well,
sector.
Apple's been trying to do Apple TV for years,
Yeah, they
and
keep
they've
calling it a hobby,
and
not
they've
a-
sucked
yeah.
at it for years.
Yeah, when they don't make money, it's a hobby. When it's
Potentially, you want to be long this stock because Apple's got to jump in and probably take something over. It's going to be a cheaper play than Netflix.
Yes.
So
Biden.
there could be a reason.
But they have their
to
own
own
TV
it
though.
there.
Roku's more of a hardware play, I still think.
Yeah.
And they have their own device. I don't know why they want to.
Yeah, they
Maybe
don't-
I don't know.
To get more of the market share.
There's no content.
Hopefully, in a couple of weeks, they'll be it'll be optionable, maybe less. They're moving faster these days. We see it sometimes within a week, so it'll be optionable. Those puts will be probably fairly juicy the first couple of days, probably. But after that, yeah, maybe it might be interesting. I wouldn't be surprised
there
to
may
see
be
it
a bear
follow.
1 by 2 in
Follow,
that
yeah.
stock's future.
You're not buying upside calls all day long. 5 Delta. I know you love to buy your 5 Delta calls. 5 Delta, Mr. 5 Delta Sebastian. All right, we got another one here. No names. This will
This
go
is
by
from
anonymous.
Ahmed.
SIBO has been on a tear the last few months, especially since the Bats acquisition. Do you see SIBO continuing its bullish trend, and do you continue to see more upside in 2018? Auspicious
That is
day
a
to
great
ask.
question.
Yeah, great question. Auspicious day to ask it. SIBO just
No, we're not,
you guys.
we're not allowed to talk about that, remember?
That's on. Who's not allowed to talk about that?
Gary Compton told me to shut up.
It's on our network already. It's good. But they just completed their big rebrand. You can see the balloons over there. So an interesting day to be talking about the future of CBOE. Let's go in reverse order. Mr. Tubbinator, you were on the floor the longest. What do you think? Obviously, they're on a tear. VIX doing well. I mean, even we saw this past week, the biggest day ever for VIX. So VIX is in single digits, and it continues to print more contracts than ever. So what do you think about the future here, upside for SIBO?
I'm probably the worst one to answer this question because I was on the floor the longest, and I did not buy the stock at $17.
You should have. You know who's kicking themselves? The CME, who could have bought it. the
Yeah,
whole
they had a few
exchange.
times.
26.
Yeah.
They were bidding 24, would not step up to 26. Jeez.
They were being frugal.
And think about it, they would have the clearing too.
Of course, even back then, I was
Think
when
about
it
all the clearing they would have gotten out of the VIX futures too.
once they hit 30, I was the only one. I was like, wow, 30, and then 60. I was like, oh, 60 for SIBO. That
Now
seems rich.
100
Now, yeah. Now,
108.
I
we
gotta
were all
believe
seeing
that
frugal in hindsight.
there's more upside to this. I mean, you're in such a low volatility market here for the last 18 months or so, that something probably should happen in this world. I don't see 9 being the new level of VIX forever. So any sort of volatility and the contracts could double from there. So I see upside.
You heard it first. Tubby says 9 VIX forever. Lex, same question for you, sir. You were on the floor second longest. What do you think about this new incarnation of the SIBO as the house of the volatility built and the upside for it going forward?
Gal, that's good. Here's my deal on that. I think as long as they have that proprietary product down there called SPX, called VIX, they're good.
2000.
Russell 2000, right? I forgot about that. They're going to be a tough worm to beat. I'd probably ask another question. Do you folks feel that there's going to be consolidation in the exchanges, or are they going to keep listing more of these? SIBO's got a gorilla position, right? It's great having a gorilla position. You're the first one. You're huge. You're known. That's a great spot to be in. And I kind of agree with Tubby is that if we have any sort of volatility in the marketplace, wow, volume's going to really be interesting for a while. With folks. I think people were kind of sitting around waiting for that.
What do you guys think? We have like 15 exchanges now. You think this is more on the way, or you think we're going to come down the other way and they're going to start acquiring? You asked the question. You get to go first. What do you think?
I believe it's going to be more upside because I feel like they continue to come out with new instruments and stuff like that. So it's like, for example, like we have in
Bitcoin futures, yeah.
Well, first quarter of 2018. So I think that's going to help as well.
Well, and let's not forget, every time Donald Trump tweets, 10,000 VIX futures trade. I mean...
So just to repeat his answer for the listeners at home there, he said he thinks there's more upside because of more products, including, you're right, the Bitcoin cash-settled futures coming out soon. They were the first to make that. It hasn't happened yet, but they're first to get that ball rolling, so we'll see if that... any other... Oh, you got some thoughts over there?
Steve Sears.
SIBO as a takeover target?
But from who?
Well, CME's the only player, but that's kind of rich now.
Yeah.
That's what you were talking about before. They kind of. I saw that article too. I think that was Steve, and he writes about the space a lot. Yeah, it is. It does seem like they kind of missed the boat for a while there. CME was a pie that had one wedge missing. SIBO fit very nicely into that pie, but. At 30, maybe $60 at what is it, close to 120 an hour?
110, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean that's
a rough road. And a lot of people think the CBOE Bats merger was kind of a poison pill for them getting taken over. I think they're going to end up being the acquirer. I remember back when I was on the floor, we almost bought the P-Coast. They're kicking themselves for that. There are way too many exchanges. Eventually, somebody smart in the SEC.
So
will figure that
gobbling
out.
up Box. What's coming?
Box in their new trading floor. But, think about this. They traded 2.6 million VIX futures or VIX options on Monday.
That'd be a hell of a
with
VIX
a
futures
9.5 VIX. So think about what they could do if things explode. I think that, I'll tell you, the only thing that's frustrating for people, the folks at SIBO, is when I'm buying my options on SIBO on the NYSE ARCA or NYSE Amex or on the PhilX or the NASDAQ or Gemini or Box or Bats. Well, I guess they don't care about Bats anymore.
Not too much.
But, they bought Bats, and they've not merged those exchanges, and I don't understand why. I think they could and should. But my gut says that, it's going to keep going as long as we have a president that can launch, the president who launched 10,000 VIX futures, then I think that CBOE is in a good spot. I mean, that guy, he is... Ed Tilley. Nobody should be a bigger fan of Donald Trump than Edward James Tilley.
I think Rocket Man's helping a little bit too, but between the two of them, they're certainly putting some contracts on the table. You're right. I mean, everyone thought
I'm not sure his middle name starts with a J.
Good.
The merger between ICE and CME, if that's the last one happens, it will be SIBO out in the cold. For how long is anyone's question?
Do you think the ICE and the CME are going to get merged?
Maybe, why not? You get those two stock
That-
futures exchanges.
I got to imagine that would be a hard one to get past the DOJ. CME already dominates a lion's share of the futures volume out there. You add ICE coming in with their energy, and in addition to a lot of their listed option stuff that they have, I'd have to imagine the DOJ would take a long look at that.
He's pretty in the know on things,
maybe.
so there's something sneaky there.
Might be. I mean, the Board of Trade CME deal sailed through relatively easily, so.
Yeah, everybody saw that coming. As soon as the Board of Trade listed, it was like the countdown began on when the Merc was going to buy them. Everyone at the Board of Trade was like, it was like, like they had a sign, number of days since CME approached us to buy, and it was constantly 1.
Yeah, you're right. If that theoretical scenario did happen, you're right. It would be probably challenging. But I don't know. You guys, Alex or Tubby, you guys see that happening anytime soon? ICE and CME putting enmity aside and getting together?
Well, it'd be interesting. I'm not quite sure what the CBO would do there. I mean, I think you're going to see the CBO acquiring people. As for what the ICE is doing with the CME, I have no idea.
I think you could see CBOE merge with like NASDAQ. I could see something like that. That would be a Fed.
That'd probably be the next move then. If ICE and CME went together, then yeah, they probably would want a bigger dance partner.
We have a question from
the back. The man who helped us with our tables.
Maybe you can speak about the value of data in terms of exchange and that revenue model, and that's something which I think the listeners would appreciate.
Yeah, I'm sure. Let's get Lex's opinion on this too, because he lives in the data space. Lex, what do you think?
Yeah, well, listen, the exchanges now, if we were to as a technology company, have to scan the universe. We have to report our users, right? And the reason we have to report our users is because we have to get charged for the data that I disseminate as a result. What does that mean? That means that the exchanges are collecting those fees for data that we disseminate across a massive channel. Okay, no one knows about that stuff, but we have to report that. We're required to report that stuff. Now, can they really, truly say that I'm giving it to Gary and not giving it to John? Not really. But listen, when you have to play that game. So data is expensive. It really is. And I think some of you who might be on the professional side are paying upwards of $100-something a month for data as a professional. That's not cheap. And guess what? When you do it at the universe level, it's thousands and thousands of dollars a month to push that out.
Yeah, I mean, I know guys where as expensive as Bloomberg is, their data is more expensive than their Bloomberg.
Yeah.
You guys know how much Bloomberg is every month? Yeah, about $2,000. And data, a Bloomberg terminal, yeah. Which is why I'm never going to own a Bloomberg terminal.
But data is a great revenue source for the exchanges as well. So don't be misled about that. They are making good money on selling data.
No, it's funny though. The question was about I'm being a bad host. I didn't repeat the question, so I'll do so now for the listeners at home. There, he asked about the potential for data being a kind of continued driver for the exchanges, and he's right. It has been a huge profit center for them, but we have seen them kind of coming up against the limits of that. Look at CME. The last 2 quarters they missed primarily because of misses on market data. So they're starting to feel the heat. And even in a monopolistic situation where you could charge pretty much as you want for market data, at a certain point, people are just going to start pushing back, whether they change their strategies to be less data intensive and start being a little bit more, getting back away from the HFT side and starting to be a little bit more low latency, so you don't need as much data. That increases your P&L just doing that. So we're seeing some firms starting to do that. So I don't know if, I wouldn't ever say we've reached peak data, but maybe we're starting to see in terms of firms starting to push back a little bit and saying we're going to adjust our strategy. Have you guys come across that? Have any of you guys thought about, hey, this is just too costly to keep maybe trading as actively as I want. Maybe I'll dial it back. You guys get a little bit of a different rate.
Yeah.
But still, it is starting to see a lot of the big firms out there, and even some of the smaller prop shops are starting to do that. They're saying, wait a minute, what is the cost associated with this strategy in terms of data and everything else? Maybe we can be a little bit less latency sensitive, and there goes $10,000 more a month in our pockets, something along those lines. So maybe they are starting to come against that as well, which is kind of interesting. BAT's coming together with SIBO now. Obviously, they have a lot of expertise in streamlining things.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that works and maybe streamline their data. We're already seeing SIBO do that with their the LiveVol guys were just here a little while ago. They have their bespoke data shop. You can come in and just buy 1 day's worth of data, close to close kind of thing, if you want for $5 or whatever the case may be.
Their data's a mess.
So they're so and that's people are starting to realize that maybe a more bespoke, tailored option is valuable. But it's a good question, because we have seen exchanges.
Bespoke. That's such a trendy financial word, isn't it?
Well, it's not just financial. It's been around for a while. But yes,
I know,
it is.
but where do you hear? I've got a bespoke home for you that I'm going to build.
Maybe
I've got
in the South. It's a Southern.
I've got a bespoke automobile for you. Nobody does that.
We got some listener questions here.
Why can't we just use the word custom?
If you guys have more questions, feel free to chime in. Great questions so far. We got a bunch of listeners here. This guy writes in all the time. EJH4ISU. He wants to know. He says it's Iowa State University. So there you go. He says, I have a question for the option block. Well, you wrote into the right show. He says, let's say you're short, naked, a bunch of puts, and the trade goes against you, and you don't have the money to pony up. What can your broker do to you? Lex, you're the representative of the brokers here. What can you go to? Can you go to this guy's house and break his leg? What can you do to this guy here?
Yeah,
Lex?
I know a guy named Vinny. So, Gal, I don't know how they even let you get to that point, quite frankly, anymore.
Yeah.
So the brokerage community is so strict on short units. You got to have several buco dineros to be. Yeah, you have to be really well capitalized to be short. A ton of units where you can get in that trouble.
Yeah, they run like this big. That would be very difficult,
your
even on portfolio
set
margin.
that anyway, right?
Yeah, even against portfolio margin, that'd be very difficult to do because they run these big analytics where they look at your portfolio if the market drops 10% and I think 25%. And if VIX doubles and quadruples, I believe. And they run a P&L analysis on that. So this would never pass mustard. And quite frankly, why?
Well, I think the brokers should
Sell
have public.
put
It's the old O'Hare trade, right?
Yeah.
Put it on, get on the train, and see what happens.
Is there more to the story, though?
He doesn't. He's not specific.
What stock is he?
He's not. He's not relating his own specific story. What was that? Is he asking for a friend?
I did hear about somebody getting cracked legs in the state of Iowa last week.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, you're right. This would be hard. A responsible broker should step in way before this comes to pass and says, hey, that's what margin is for, right? That's what margin is for. And before you get to this point, they should call you up and say, hey, you're looking a little close. So maybe you want to cover some.
Reject you
That's
in the
word
first place.
margin call.
Yes, they do call you. There we go. We'll ask him where you are. EJH4ISU. Where are you in Iowa? They want to know if you had your legs broken by your broker. Matthew here wants to know, where do you guys source your unusual options activity? By the way, we have a chance to do our odd block segment. Usually spend a lot of time really breaking down a lot of unusual activity, analyzing the flow, bid offers, that kind of stuff. Obviously a little hard to do today. He wants to know, where do you guys get your usual options activity data from? He says he uses the TOS Options Hacker, which is okay, but you're getting the spread. We are getting the spreads in our activities. Would love to know how and where we get that level of data from. Well, Matt, we've answered this question a couple times before, but I guess it's once a quarter we have to answer it. We do a lot of our flow starts actually with the guys who were just here, with the live vol guys. We do a lot of our flow analysis first, and you have to use some sort of scanning tool. They have one. A lot of them do. We like the live vol version, so that's a good one. That'll allow us to kind of find the flags that we want to dig into more, and usually we can analyze a lot of it on the live vol platform. Sometimes what you're referring to specifically on where the trade was executed on the bid offer spread, we like to use Trade Alert a lot for that. That's Henry, the flow master. He was out here last year, right, at your event. So head on over to Trade Alert, or they have the retail version, What's Trading. Any of you guys here tried the What's Trading or the Trade Alert to see the execution on the flow? Here you go. One listener, one guy. So Henry will be excited. He's got one client here. But that's where we get a lot. If you need to go a little bit deeper into the weeds to see where was this executed, if it was part of a spread, what was the other leg, that sort of thing, that's when we get into Trade Alert for that sort of thing. And that's probably the best platform for that sort of stuff. Lex, you were talking about data before, and analysis. Do you have any recommendations here for Matt?
Scanning is awesome. I think Option Hacker I have heard of at Thinkorswim. The live vol is great. In our proprietary world, we have that. Again, it's just a data issue for us. We have to report. So stay tuned relative to TradeHawk, but it was interesting to see all that. We do that. We just haven't released it. Again, my little scenario of you're going to get a little candy every so often here is coming down the road. So we have that functionality.
So you're handing out candy out of
I'm handing out candy. Yes, that's right. That's right. But scanning's it's an interesting it's an interesting game. I think the universe is expensive to scan for.
I think you definitely need a couple of platforms. One to kind of
Yeah.
help you find it, and then one to analyze it once you find it.
Yeah,
And,
well,
not
and I think
not all are good at both.
I mean,
Right.
Henry's stuff is really. I mean, we all use it.
Henry's
Yeah.
stuff was fantastic.
It's good,
for us.
without a
Yeah.
doubt.
But obviously that's more geared toward an institutional audience. But what's
Well,
trading?
they have the What's Trading
is
version.
nice. Is nice.
That's
And
that's streamlined for retail. I think it's only like $99 a month, something
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
cheap.
So you
Right.
guys
It's
could try
nice.
it out.
That is nice.
And it's you don't need because Trade Alert is
What's trading.com.
1,000 or something, a couple thousand a month, something like
yeah,
that.
or what you can do is just hang out here and look at stuff going on in the VIX pit all day.
There you go. that also works. That's what. Russ, we got time for I think a couple of more. Unless you guys have a couple more, we got a bunch here.
Any questions from the audience?
You guys keep percolating. We got a bunch more here. So
Oh, we got one over there.
I got a live one. Here we go.
We are.
What?
What?
Oh, is that what
Are
was
you
that? He was
serious?
talking about the paper, like the flow today. He didn't say the merger though. No.
No.
Okay.
What is it?
What is the ticker for this new UPS FedEx merger going to be, sir? I like it. I like it.
I was all
A little
excited for a
humor.
moment
Tubby
there.
was
I was
excited.
excited too.
Tubby was about to buy more
Yeah, everyone
calls.
was like, "What?"
Already
Whoa!
long
We
ago.
have to close this show down now to go do some Jan.
All my
That's
short
it, that-
calls.
I've been had twice today already.
We have to buy more Jan 2020 verticals. All right, we got time for a couple more here. Let's do Tim. Tim wants to know. I hate to keep singling out Lex, but all these questions seem to fall in his wheelhouse. This comes from Tim with 2 eyes. Time. He says, "Why isn't it standard or maybe required to let people close out shorts for free, below a dime?" This is the question I ask just about every broker on the planet. Most do it. A lot. Some will come back and still argue where we have costs associated with that. But they're usually the same brokers who also complain when their customers wait for a short to get to zero before they close it out. So I'm curious. You guys work with Tradier on this. Does Tradier close out shorts for free when they get below that level? And what are your thoughts on this?
Well, we do on our platform, but no, they do not.
they don't. So
they
you
do
added
not.
that feature yourself.
Yes.
And why did you feel compelled to do that,
Well,
sir?
It's a part of the Netflix model.
That's right. So that's all part of that whole version. But no, I think they will charge you for closing as well. So, yeah.
Let me ask-
I don't. The answer is I think they want to make more money.
You guys are a lot of hardcore traders out here. I'm assuming a lot of you trade short premium on occasion. Does that factor into your brokerage consideration? They're going to nickel and dime you to charge for closing for like below, or does other stuff outweigh it? Do you guys pay attention to that when you choose a broker? Yes or no? Because I'm always asking them that question. I bug them about that all the time. Yes. So you want to be incentivized to close out risk, right? That makes sense.
Yeah.
You sell something for $1, it gets down to a penny. You want to pay more in commissions than it's worth. Some people just have a weird aversion to doing that, psychological aversion. They'll let that dollar go to $3.
I would just convert it into a free put spread instead of actually closing it.
What fun would that be, sir?
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. So there you go.
exactly. No, you shouldn't. You just pay it. People who stay short cabs end up driving cabs. That's the old saying.
Everyone know what a cab is?
That's called a cabinet.
That's
Cabinet.
That's
a
old
stock. It's an option that's worth less than a nickel.
All right, I think we got time for let's do one more quick one here to wrap up our extended live mail block here today. Let's
All
see.
mail block.
Yeah, all mail block. Which one should we pick here? This is a crazy long one about.
Let's skip that one.
Let's not do that one. That's about 3 pages.
Folks, here's a
let's
tip.
Go,
if
let's
you
go
keep
faster.
it to under fewer than 140 characters, you're more likely to get an answer.
All right, here we go. That one's for Andrew. I'll say that one for Andrew. I like that one. Here's a fun one. Lesnod says, "How do you get out of straddles? One side of a straddle is always a loser, right?" I like that. That's a good question. That's a good one to end on. You always lose with a straddle.
Well, if one side's a loser, guess what?
If you're short and you want to both be losers.
Yeah.
You're always losing. Mark, how do you do it? It's always a loser.
So here's what I do: is I put in a sell order, and then I sell it, and then I'm out of it. They should be. You want one side to lose. That means the underlying one. Now, here's what I will say: if I do things the right way. So I'm playing around in NVIDIA last week. I did kind of a in the money straddle trade, and NVIDIA popped. Right then. So what I did, my calls that I owned were actually worth more than what I paid for the straddle, a lot more. So what do? I sell the calls, and
you bought many more.
And my puts were just worth like $1. And so I left them. I said, well, let's see if this thing reverses over the next couple of days. I sat on them, and guess what? NVIDIA dropped. So I got to sell those back at like $3 or $4, made even more. So that's usually what I'll do. Just I'm sure I could apply some smart MACD analysis or something to go with my gut. But a lot of the times I just like, worth keeping on, might go back down.
By the way, Andrew mentioned to me that you probably would want to plug your NVIDIA straddle scalp trade. So
Is that what he said?
It was
to you?
about 6 hours into the event is when you plugged it. So I'll have to let him know.
Yeah, well, you
He's
know
like,
that.
let me know when Mark plugs his double winner on NVIDIA. And so I'll let him know. He'll be very
So
excited
nice, I
about
won in
that.
it twice.
Yes, there you go. Keep those puts on for $1. I don't know, Tubby. You executed a lot of straddles on the day. It's always a loser. What do you do?
That is the best question ever.
Well, if you short them, you want them all to lose. I think Mark's exactly right. You take off the side that's profitable and sit on the rest of it. There's no reason to close the losing side. You're only at risk to lose more on the other side. So in any event, you want to take off the profitable side, you put on another spread, whatever.
Yeah.
You can even just spread up the call side if you want, if you're a profit of that and you're still bullish. But there's no reason to sell a $3 put that's trading $1 now just to cover that and then stay long the call at that point.
Now, if you're only up marginally, take off the whole thing.
Right.
Keep the money. And if your opinion changes, if you enter a trade under a certain set of circumstances or you're doing it for a certain set of reasons and those reasons change, stop trading that. Get out. Right? When my assumptions change, sorry, I hit the table again, folks. When my assumptions change, I stop doing what I'm doing and I do something else. I know that's profound,
That's
right,
very,
folks?
very deep. Lex, maybe you can build a tool
It's like
called
from Better Off
called
Dead.
the
If you see a bump, turn.
always loser straddle execution strategy.
Yeah, I'm
And,
with the gang. I'm selling my straddle out if I'm profitable. If I have a no-lose situation where I have a put that's worth very little that's left and I have more profit in the package, I might roll some dice.
Roll some dice,
on
get
the
some
remainder.
warrants.
I'm a lock-in winner.
You're on house money at that point,
I got
right?
house
So,
money. I love playing with the house's money. I can't lose. On that
I got
one.
the title for your next webinar: the always lose straddle straddle strategy.
What to do
I would
when
sign
a
up for
straddle
that.
is winning.
That's right.
All right, that's going to do
amazing.
it for our extended live mail block. It's also going to do it for this fun live episode of the Option Block. Lex, thanks for standing in, joining us. You
Pleasure.
were courageous when the folks at NADEX were deeply cowardly, so I'll be sure to mention that to them. Since you're our guest, I'll give you pride of place. Once again, mention to us what it is you're working on. If our listeners are intrigued by everything you're talking about here, where should they go? What should they do to learn more?
Go to mytradehawk.com or send us an email, info@optionize.com. So it's all in the literature. We'd love to hear from
Really
you.
quick, mention that those pricing plan again, because it's kind of interesting what you guys are doing over
Yep.
there.
So 3 plans: stock only, $19 a month, unlimited, commission free.
I can trade as much stock as I want for $19.
Yeah. So you can do that. You can do that.
That's like cheaper than a subscription to the Wall Street Journal.
Okay. I don't know
Just
how much
saying.
that is, but
It is. Yeah.
okay. And then the second plan, the Pro plan, a little more a la carte, and that one is $49 a month, and it's 35 cents a contract, and then $349 per stock. If you trade over 300 contracts, that $49 is waived. Last Elite plan, that's for those folks who trade an awful lot, and that's $299 a month, unlimited, stock and options.
And the break even on that is about $300 or 300 trades, 300 contracts.
Contracts, yeah.
About. So if you trade more than 300 contracts, that's a decent deal.
Yep.
There you
So-
go. And Mr. Tubbinator, any bourbon festivals in your near future, sir?
No,
what are you
thank
working
God.
on?
Thank God.
Every day is a bourbon festival in the world of Tubby.
Last week in Louisville was enough for me for the next couple months.
But I know if you're looking to get some floor expertise, hit up Mr. Tubby. Give us your handle on Twitter there, sir, so they can find you.
Sox fan Matt B on Twitter. Happy to answer any questions for you there. And
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe
And
we
we'll
can-
see.
Had a
Maybe
great
some
time.
Maybe
other
we'll
stuff.
hear more of Tubby on the network sometime in the near future. Last but not least, Mr. Meatball, what is you obviously got your big event going on
Yeah.
here. And when's your always loser straddle webinar coming?
I don't know about the always loser, but here's what I'll say: is this we've had a great event this year. Mark, you were a great part of it as well, and we've got 50 some odd people here. It should be 200 because this is freaking that good.
I don't think they're that odd.
Yeah. So let's we'll be back here either in Chicago or maybe Houston next year or maybe Dallas. So be on the lookout for this same event next September and get your butts to that event so you can learn yourself.
And give yourself a round of applause for some great questions. You guys did. You guys did great out there. And thanks to all of you for listening. And we'll see you again next week for more of the Option Block.
preceding program was a production of the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.